Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am Tamara Johnson Shealy. Welcome to the broadcast. I am tired this morning, but y'all, we are here. Welcome to the broadcast. Today is Saturday, the 17th of July. Can you believe we are like already halfway through the year? And what a year it has been. Of course, I am on the campaign trail to the United States Senate. And when I tell you, I have been moving and shaking. I have been moving and shaking for the last 7 days or so. And I'm quite exhausted, but I am here. But I have a robust conversation this morning. I have some fellow activists that are going to join me, of course. Hey, Robbie, good morning.
Morning, Miss Tamara.
How are you? Good. How are you?
And I'm tired like you.
But we are here, Lord. We are here. And Taniqua Simmons, girl,
hello.
I couldn't wait to have you on this broadcast. If you guys don't know who she is, y'all know who Miss Robbie is, fellow co-host in this fight here in Georgia. But Taniqua, y'all, is in the state of New York. I follow her. I am great friends with her cousin. And I started following her because her energy was just like mine. And her cousin was like, girl, you got to meet Taniqua because she is just like you. She is on fire. And I started following her. And Lord have mercy, you bring the tea time. You bring the heat. Man, you bring it. You are not playing in Buffalo, New York. You're not playing.
Well, that's right. This gentrification is real.
I'm so grateful for people like you. I saw your video. I put it everywhere imaginable. I'm positive I got flagged because some people cannot handle that level of truth, but it's so necessary. No, I'm serious. I'm really serious. I was so impressed. I just can't even. It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm so grateful to people like you who do this type of work, this quality work. For anybody who hasn't seen it, I'm going to put it back up on my page. The breakdown and understanding on multiple levels and explaining to people all the background and how it all comes together and directly affects, damages and harms their life and what they're paying for in taxes was amazing. It was amazing. You were amazing. And on top of it, it's actually fruitful. So that's all I have to say. I want to hear everything you have to say.
Oh, thank you so much, and for including me and allowing me to be here today.
Yeah, of course. I couldn't wait to have you on. When I saw you, I see you all the time on social media, and I'm like, I'm gonna get her on. But this time, I was like, I stopped in my tracks, and I was like, let me reach out to her right now. We having some bad internet connections, y'all. Robbie's coming there, you guys. I think you're both back now. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. I'm just glad to have you, Taniqua. Girl, what's going on? Robbie is she's on the ground here in Georgia, looking at what's happening with gentrification. She's been talking about real estate in the Atlanta, Georgia market for a very long time on this broadcast. And you guys were speaking the same language on what was that Wednesday, Tuesday? When was that you were live and you were like on fire? Oh, Taniqua, we can't hear you. Okay. Can you hear us?
For those people,
I can hear you now.
Okay, great. For those people who don't know who you are and who haven't seen the video yet, which I'm about to repost it, can you just give some background, who you are, what you do, where you live, and what happened that you released this live video, public video, less than a week ago?
Okay, well, I'm a community advocate here in the city of Buffalo. I'm a mother of 7. I've been involved in my community since I was a teenager. So the community has always been my focus, how to make it better, trying to address the things that we need. And our particular issue that we're fighting now is gentrification, and it is directly threatening our ability to live in the communities that we've been in for generations. So I made a video because a lot of people don't get the connection and don't understand local politics, these nonprofit organizations, and their connection to our community, and how that relationship, although it could be a positive relationship, right now it's a negative relationship that is negatively impacting the community. We are being financially phased out of our community at an alarming rate. So that's why I released the video, because we have an election coming up, and a lot of people want to be involved and they want to make an impact. But unless you really understand your local politics, the candidates, the money behind the candidates, like, unless you understand all of these relationships, it's very difficult to be an informed voter. And that's
Can
what
I
we
just,
really need. We need voters that are informed and engaged.
so let me tell you, I was exhausted this morning, and just having you here, I am I am still exhausted, but just having you here, you have no idea what this means to me, because I know that every single thing that you did and are saying has merit, is solid, because I have witnessed exactly what you described, not only in the video and did a summary of right now, but I have witnessed that, as Tamara has said, in the streets of Atlanta, Georgia. I have witnessed the damaging relationship with nonprofits. I have witnessed how local politics and the obscurity and lack of understanding who's behind what, that our media doesn't fully cover, how damaging it is. And what I loved about your video, Tamara's coming back, is that you broke it down so that people, regular people, even with all the haze of media and fanfare and the IG posts of local politicians and them trying to make everything look on the up and up, you explain to people it's your money and this is what's happening, and you're paying to be phased out. I mean, is that a fair statement? Is that a fair assessment?
Yes. Yes, it is a very fair assessment.
And I have to give you props, because nobody says this publicly. Nobody does that. I see all these people. I'm serious. And this has to be discussed, because I see all these people talking about this in private forum. And let's call that for what it is. That's a little safer. You know, people are posting to their friends. Well, that's valuable to a degree, but we have to commend people. And I personally want to acknowledge you and thank you for sticking your neck out on that line. That's what you did. That's what you did, because when people do this, when people do what you did, meaning publicly speak transparently in public forum, call out systems, call out names, you didn't do it anonymously. They come for you. The establishment and their pawns, their peons, whatever you want to call them, come for you. They come for your business. They come for your reputation. All of a sudden, things get harder for you to do in the community. You may be even getting pulled over on the random for nothing.
Right.
You can't walk into certain spaces without people whispering about you, pointing at you, telling people not to work with you, telling people be careful with her, won't put things in writing around you, won't give you information, will shut you out of groups, will block your posts, will flag you from next door. All of that.
These are facts.
Yeah, so much. I mean, you have no idea how grateful I was. I will reshare the video for anybody who has not seen it. It will be on my public page, whatever. Seriously, because I don't do that. I don't do these. Who are you messaging? Like, who are you posting to? You're. I mean, it's just, I don't want to poo-poo on people that much, but I'm very, very frustrated, because one person, it's easy to kill movements when you let one person do all the public work. That's why we can't get anywhere. And is driving me nuts, because everything you said yesterday, I walked around and I saw 20, 50 homeless people without limbs, people just strung out, passed out. And there's all this money for affordable housing, to your point, to your credit. There's all these nonprofits that get all this money. There's all these civic engagement associations that get all this money. So if that's the case, why are there homeless people everywhere?
Yeah.
So I'm going to zip it right
become
now. Go ahead.
I was about to say, anytime anything gets politicized, that there's not going to be a solution, that they're just going to kind of throw money at it and it's going to become a funding source. So while we're looking at these issues, for me, they're issues of humanity. But for these nonprofits, these are conditions that generate funding for them. So we have to look at who's educating the community, who's taking our voice, like who's getting our funding. Like, we have to look at all of these things to put context to the information that is being provided by people and organizations that are not generated from within the community.
So for people who haven't seen the video, can you give a little description of what occurred? And also, could you give your city, your state, maybe your zip code, and who your local representative is?
Okay, well, I'm from Buffalo, New York. I'm in zip code 14211. Buffalo, New York is one of the 10 top poorest cities in the country, which means that we receive quite a bit of poverty funding. I would say just on average, we receive $1 billion in federal and state poverty dollars. But my community has been in decline for 45 years. And it's very hard. I mean, $1 billion for one geographical area, you would think that they would have, at some point in time, been in a position to address the concentration of poverty. The zip code that I'm in has one of the highest concentrations of poverty. So it's one of the most violent. It's one of the the areas that we're dealing with literacy rates. I mean, every condition that you could possibly think that would plague a community, we are dealing with. So it's very hard to get people in the community to be kind of involved and engaged in politics. Lots of us are just, trying to focus on meeting our basic needs. So getting involved in politics and being engaged is kind of difficult if they do have an understanding.
Right.
So I just got to a point where, you see these people in the community, they're praising these nonprofits, they're praising these politicians. Right now, we have a mayor's election coming up. We have India Walton. She's a Democratic socialist. She beat our incumbent, who was a Democrat, Byron Brown. He's been our mayor for 4 terms. So he's been our mayor for about 16. He's going into his 16th year. And we're about to have an election. And she is the poster child for a nonprofit called Open Buffalo, which is funded by Open Society, which gets its funding from George Soros. And this organization is here to shape policy, and they're here to move politics. So their relationship with the community is parasitic, but the community can't see it for what it's worth because they have a very good marketing campaign. And we have to understand that organizations that are receiving their funding from the conditions that you're facing have a conflict of interest when they're telling you what the problem is and what the solution is. And these nonprofits, they've taken the place of our Black clubs. I mean, they pop up. Our nonprofits have nonprofits and have other nonprofits that have for-profits. So we are really fighting a battle of misinformation because, when you are educated and you know what's going on, it's easier to stand on your square. It's easy to stand in your truth. But when you want to be engaged, but you don't have the knowledge to become a part of the solution, then these organizations, they take your goodwill and they use that and educate you and have you working against your own interests. So I kind of got really frustrated because when you have knowledge, it's kind of difficult to live in a world where a lot of things are just based upon lies and marketing and propaganda. So that's kind of why I did the video. I try to um, do my share in educating the community because, like you said, if only one person is educated, you can kill a movement. So my goal is to put videos out and meet people where they are so that they can become aware. And if you kind of can pique people's interest and get them to just do a tad bit of research, they become very engaged in the process because once you start, looking down the rabbit's hole, it becomes very intriguing. And then people can become upset by the facts and the truth. And then hopefully that anger can move them to action. And action is going to be part of the solution and not action that has us playing an active role in our demise.
You know what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I seem tongue tied. It's that I you have I don't know. I rarely run into folks like you who have, like you said, most people are trying to survive, but also who will get to the background of it. When you said Open Buffalo, who's funded by, who's this nonprofit, and you go down what you called a rabbit hole, that information is so valuable because as you notated, the the politicians, they're not being forthcoming or transparent. In fact, it appears people are being purposely misled and often used. And I'm curious what you think about this as kind of a token face, like someone who looks maybe somewhat like the community in some regard, and sounds some kind of pleasant. It makes things sound like we're trying and we're here with you, but then like you're literally getting led into a slaughterhouse to some degree that ironically
Yes.
you funded. You funded this, and it's so rare that I run into someone like you, who's engaged in city politics, I know what this costs you. When I tell you, my friend, I know what it's exhausting. You're in meetings, you're exhausted, you're going from one to one, you're trying to document, you're trying to cover your bases, you're trying to make the engagement. The meetings are in places that are difficult to get to oftentimes. This costs you money. You literally have to love the community and people that you're doing this for to take on what you are taking on in this capacity. And please, I encourage everyone, I want you to repeat your name. And if you could find her on her, and please let people know whether it's Facebook, what you prefer, so that they can follow you and share your videos and tag them, because you're going to try to make a difference in leadership, right? You're a write-in candidate.
Right. That's absolutely correct. I wanted to give the people, like the real people, a choice and an option for this election. Whether or not they'll be receptive, I don't know, but I want to change the dialogue of the election because right now we're talking about issues that may impact people, but we're not talking about the issues that are impacting people, like gentrification and being financially phased out of your community. Because once you are phased out of the Black community, which is one of the most impoverished communities, which means it's a little bit more affordable. Like, where do you go? Where do you go when you're forced out of the community that has the lowest rents, has the value of the property has been so undervalued. So now that your community is more desirable to other people, now the rents are rising, the taxes are rising, and you find yourself out. Like, we are being pushed into communities that don't want us. The community doesn't want us. The police do, like, nobody in that community wants us, which makes us all more, it makes us targets. It impacts our voter base. It impacts our ability to have have an effect on a positive effect on, you know, how we live and the issues that impact us. So it's very important. Like gentrification in terms of politics is real because it's a direct threat to that Black voting block that we do have, because we've been relegated to, you know, inner cities. So there is power. We do have power. We just need to know how to utilize it.
I'm unmuting myself. I'm here with you.
Oh,
I just had to unmute myself. I'm here with you. So I want to. You're saying so much, and I think that's one of the. You know, it's wonderful to have a mind like you have, but it's also it's a challenge and a curse, as my niece would say, because your mind works in such a way that you know, you have so many components that you're able to discuss that it leaves like 7 kind of discussions when someone engages with you. I want to ask you a couple of questions, and I have a great appreciation for that. Like, you have no idea. Like, I love being around people like you. I find me very fascinating. That being said, you mentioned starving out, financially phasing out. I want people to really grasp that. I think this audience, and in particular Tamara's audience, what do you say about, like, and this may get a little sensitive if something is, you know, not comfortable for you to answer, by all means, you know, just no worries, just be like, I don't want to answer that. But what I noticed a lot is poverty pimps and like white savior complexes, and these nonprofits just being inundated with a system that people who are kind of quasi-liberal or, you know, relate to progressives. I've said what MLK would have deemed in the jail in Birmingham, you know, the disappointment in the white moderate. To me, that is today's liberal, progressive, even Democrat, because they seem content, you know, with these nonprofits where they become very wealthy. Their families get good salaries, you know, they come in to live among the poor, you know, and they're able to buy. And ironically, they buy properties which cause gentrification because of the prices that they're buying, instead of empowering the legacy residents, you know, to have representation in their own voice, you know, in their own community. So I guess, what are your thoughts on that? Because it seems pervasive. Am I mistaken? Are you seeing that? What do you?
I think that, um, see, the Democrats, well, the political system and the nonprofits have a very they have a very fruitful relationship, because when we look at nonprofits and the purpose of nonprofits could not have been to truly help um, help the community, because with nonprofits, the sole purpose of nonprofits is to allow people to donate to these public corporations and receive a tax write-off. Well, most poor people benefit from the standard deduction. So most poor people don't benefit from donating to these nonprofit organizations. Who benefits the most from donating to these nonprofit organizations? These wealthy corporations, philanthropists, and as a direct result of that, when we look at elections and campaign contributions and the problem with elections, and you know, they're always like people over politics. Well, the people don't fund the campaigns. Who funds the campaigns? The corporations do. So most of all of our laws and most of everything that is passed, it benefits the establishment, it benefits the wealthy. So you have this loophole or this access where these nonprofits, they come, they establish themselves in the community. They make sure that they put community in their name. And when you think community, I think it's very inclusive. So here you have these community organizations. They have a board. Most people don't see the board. The board goes out and hires people, and the people that they hire reflect the targeted population that these corporations want to target. Because if I donate $1 million to your organization, that's influence. That's not me being, you know, altruistic. Oh, you know, I love the community, so to help the community, I'm going to donate $1 million. That's influence, because that $1 million, 95% of it is going towards salary and benefits. So now that these donations are putting money on the table, they're dictating the mission, they're dictating the agenda, they're dictating what the solutions are and the information that is going to go to the community. So it just allows these corporations and these philanthropists to control public perception, because that's what these nonprofits do. They don't come in the community and find a Black club and support the Black club. They come in the community and they tell you to get behind them, get behind us, come to this community meeting, come discuss
Right.
the solutions with us. And because they're doing that, they really can't represent the interests of the people, although their marketing is superb. And
Yeah.
that's where our lack of understanding of these relationships has us believing that these nonprofits, which after a while become institutions in the community, um, they provide influence for these politicians who, when they want to come and show love and show that it's people over politics, who do they tap? They don't tap the community, because the real community that knows what's going on, they're upset. They don't even want to be in
Right.
meeting with those people. So they
Right.
tap this community organization, and then this community organization is attached to the people, because the people believe and buy into their marketing campaign. And they're like, the city mission, they do such a wonderful job, taking in the homeless, but the city mission is not going to speak of the policies and the allocation of resources that is making people homeless. So they're making sure that they secure their funding. The politicians are making sure that they secure their votes, and they're doing it off of the backs of the community, and they're doing it with the grants and the tax dollars of the community. So this is how we get tapped to be a part of our own demise.
Exactly. I mean, that was perfectly said. And I want to shout out to the gang online who's all asking, like, where do they find you? Don't worry, Tamara is going to put all this up. And thank you to the political chat for putting up Miss Simmons' information so that everybody can find you. Please share her videos, because they are impactful and they're so valuable. And I want to. You said a lot, per usual, but I want to acknowledge that people are in survival mode. And so it is so difficult to, I mean, even if you're gainfully employed, even if you just work full time, it's so hard to attend everything. And then on top of it, the information is so skewed, like you said, the marketing, that even if you go to a meeting, the information that you're given is not even practically accurate, because you're being fed, misled information that comes from a narrative. And I want to attest to what you're saying, because I've witnessed this. I could give 1,000 examples, but there was a group that came in out of like middle Haiti, welcome back, out of like the Midwest, and they brought in these pastors, young guys, good intentions, white, to my neighborhood, and they bought houses, and they brought their folks, and they bought houses, and these were funded by Christian churches into a predominantly Black community. And that man came to me after he rented the rec center. You can't even use the rec center for free in your own park, even though you're paying taxes. So he rented it to do yoga. He wanted to do yoga, his little yoga class. That's fine, because they had money to rent the rec center. He also was doing free pancakes, which people love, because people needed food. So they would get people to go. So at the time, I was running this community center, and I was like, hey, would your church support a work program where we can get people IDs, credit restoration, and we're going to call it Laundry for Love. We have this building that this person will allow use, and we'll launder people's stuff and get people productive and working. He's like, let me get back to you, blah, 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 blah. Then they turned around. No. Less than a week later, turned around. No, we really can't take that on, blah, blah, blah. But you know what he wanted? He wanted me, because I'm in real estate, to find him a church, because he wanted to buy a church so he could preach the word of God. So let's just break this down. You come from the Midwest. You are white. in a predominantly Black neighborhood. You buy up the real estate. Your colleagues buy up the real estate funded by white Christian churches. You want to give people free pancakes to accept the word of God. You'll launder their clothes, but you won't pay people to get credit restoration. You won't support a program that empowers someone else, but you want to buy a church to teach the word of God. Okay, he moved. Okay, he sold his house at a record profit. He was so offended when I put up a post about the yoga or whatever. Okay, he was so offended. He never spoke to me again. He actually came, he spoke to me one time after that. He said, you know, that hurt my heart. This, we have to understand, okay? And I say this because it's a good example. Somebody said in my community, Robbie wants everybody to feel bad. Let me be very clear. I don't give two, you know what, how you feel. I want you to stop supporting crapping on people because you want to feel better, or you have a white fragility, or you don't want to feel bad about what you've received or the inequity. This is your psychological issue. And you got to get past it, because if you really want to be a progressive and you claim to love people, follow Jesus, whatever the case may be, you cannot keep supporting things that lead to people's demise while you profit and you live comfortably. Right. Okay, that is not progressive. That is not loving. That is not godly, nothing. So I just wanted to mention that, because it is a psychological component. And that's where I think, you know, and that was one example, but there are hundreds, and they all operate this way. They all acquire buildings with city funding. They all, you know, are using the marketing. They all do not hire, you know, local people in the community. They recruit people in, and it's crumbs. And I could spout off names of tons of nonprofits that are doing it. But when you have that many, it becomes an ecosystem. And that is what you are describing as starving out or financially phasing out. That's what you're describing. And you're absolutely accurate. So I want to ask you a quick question, and kudos to you for notating that it's been 16 years of a Democratic mayor in your community. 16 years, because this is 4 terms, because this is something Tamara talks about. These social programs are only crippling, which is why she's in support of reparations, as am I, and I'm sure you are too. So when you say poverty dollars, yes, and poverty equates to violence or leads to violence, can you expound on that a bit? Because I am in agreement with you, but I think so many people that we need who are not just struggling to survive, they need to understand this so they can support people like you and candidates like Tamara. So could you go over that, please?
Yes. We have been programmed and marketed to believe that, you know, Black people, warm weather, and opportunity equals crime, when crime is a direct result of poverty. But so often, like where I live, we are maxed out on poverty dollars. So right now, they're riding the wave of these crime dollars. And what that does is when anything becomes a funding source, what you're not going to get is a solution. What you're going to get is money, and you're going to get pacifiers. You're going to get free food. You're going to get all of this programming. But, you know, when you have a community that's riddled with nonprofits, for me, that just shows that you have poor, ineffective leadership. Because if we had leadership that reflected that of the people and did the will of the people, then our communities wouldn't be so vulnerable. Our communities wouldn't be so impoverished. Like, we have to understand that poverty is man-made. We've been taught to believe that, you know, some people are just poor, but when you're in this capitalistic society, you have to understand that poverty is a requirement of capitalism. So somebody has to be poor so that these tiny few people can be rich. So when we don't understand the relationship between poverty and crime, and we look at it as something separate, then they just start throwing money at it. And now that they're throwing money at it, people, you know, our cities, these municipalities, they become dependent on that money. So they're really not going to be effective at addressing the poverty. They're going to be effectively ineffective so that they can, A, get more funding, and B, look like they're doing their job. So we have this, and this is where the marketing and these nonprofits come in, because here we have so many anti-violence groups. I mean, we have more anti-violence groups than some standing houses on some streets in our community. This is how inundated we are with these people who are addressing symptoms, because that's where the money is. And when we understand the relation between crime and poverty, then we understand that we have to do more with our poverty dollars, that we have to hold people accountable. And without holding people accountable and throwing money at our problems, all you're going to get is this ecosystem. All you're going to get is this marketing. All you're going to get is more of the same. And people, you're just going to have more people trying to make you feel comfortable with the situation. So we have to just be very mindful in understanding the relationship between crime and poverty, because the more we take it on as a character of the community and less as a systemic issue, then we are going to continue to blame ourselves, and we're not going to be in a position to hold anybody accountable, because we are bearing the burden as a community. And when we had nothing to, when we had nothing to do with the creation of the poverty, like we get $1 billion for poverty dollars, but when that money comes into the community for these affordable housing that's not affordable, we're not on those jobs creating the housing. And then when the housing is finished, we can't even afford to live there. So we're missing out on these wonderful opportunities to make our community better, because we don't know why our community is failing.
Yeah, Tamara, you have some photos in your inbox and Messenger whenever you have a minute, because it shows kind of exactly what our advocate future, I pray you get in office. You're exactly what's needed. You're transparent, you're honest, you can call it out, you're not worried about it, you're not bots, nobody owns you. And you at least will tell people, honestly, this is exactly what's happening. These are the problems, because if you don't understand the problem, my God, how can you really come up with an effective solution? You can't even identify the problem. Right. So I just want to thank you so much, because when you explained it, when you said parasitic relationship, when you said these systems are not intended to solve these problems, it's very similar to pharmaceutical. If you treat symptom, but you never cure, you have a robust economy there for yourself to keep treating people and maintaining them sickly. But you're keeping the cure to the side, because you have no intention of stopping that funding source. You have no intention of stopping your, wealth creation, really. So this is actually City of Atlanta proper, because Tamara named this housing and affordability, how affordable housing the lie. These are residents in my community. And a lot of people get upset with me for taking these photos, but the Black residents, hold on to that one photo right there. In my community, no, go ahead, Tamara, are literally not being hired anywhere. If you look at, please go to the photo with the one you were right at. These are, okay, I'm sorry, Tamara. The one with there. Okay, look, I am Latin, okay? I love everybody. I do not have a problem with anybody except for jerks, okay? These men are all Latin. When you go anywhere in construction in Atlanta, and I'm chronically driving around, everybody being hired is Latin, okay? How does that happen when we have tons of Black people in these communities? That's my neighborhood. All my neighbors who are legacy residents are literally on the streets. How do we have entire crews who are not from the community doing city work? Go ahead, Tamara. When you have a minute, go to the next photo, please. Is she still there? Did we lose her? Okay. So my community members are literally dying alive. Like they're living, but dying slow deaths, because there is no economic enfranchisement. It's exactly what you said, starving out the community. This woman sitting there, I've seen her for over 10 years. Okay. She's next to a 30-acre parcel that is owned by the Annie Casey nonprofit foundation right off the Beltline, funded by City of Atlanta. Actually, Senator Warnock was there the other day. He did a tour of this facility. This is across the street from Pittsburgh. Annie Casey, a nonprofit funded by UPS, who's not local, kept this parcel undeveloped for 10 years. Now they have a business incubator. We built a new facility. We taxpayers built a new facility. These are the residents of Pittsburgh. Who the hell's in that business incubator? The people they flip properties to. A nonprofit did this. Please go to the next photo, Tamara. This is the Southwest Atlanta Beltline. That's where I live. I live in town, so it's become very desirable. Gentrification, to your point, what you're talking about. Next picture, please, Tamara. So this is all happening right around. No, okay, sorry, no worries. So this, I guess I wanted to share a little bit. There should be another picture in there, a few more of them, of the affordable housing specifically. I can resend if that makes it easier for you. Want me to resend? While we're doing that, do you want to add, Ms. Simmons?
Oh yeah. Well, the affordable housing scheme scandal is very rampant up here in the city of Buffalo. A lot of foreigners are buying up the housing stock, and Buffalo was not really big on apartments. We were big on multiple unit dwellings where, a house in an apartment may have 3 or 4 bedrooms on the upper and the lower. So we're talking about houses that may house 4 to 8 people that are now being gentrified because our community is redlined. So it's very difficult for people to obtain financing to fix up their homes. It's hard for people to get. You have people who've been pre-qualified for a mortgage, and they can't. The underwriters will not allow them to buy houses on the east side. The east side of Buffalo, I want to say, is the largest geographical area in Buffalo, and they left a lot of vacant housing, a lot of vacant lots to bring down the property value. So now, they're keeping the property values low by leaving up blighted houses, by the sheer number of vacant lots that we have. And now that housing stock is being purchased, like, people really don't have a place to go. So they're like, we need affordable housing. So now they're building all this affordable housing, but it's unaffordable. They're primarily 1 and 2 bedrooms. So the families that are being phased out of the housing aren't even making a spot for them when they're creating the housing, this affordable housing that they're doing. So this is how Black families are being pushed out of the communities that they've grown up in for generations, and we're being pushed into the first layer of suburbs that were created by the white flight that allowed our community to become browner and to be redlined. And now that the price is right, they're back and they're buying up everything in droves. But everybody is writing this affordable housing, and no one is getting this red flag because they use the term affordable, and you don't find out that they're not affordable until they're up and operational. And then when the community finds out that they're unaffordable, we do nothing. Like, because right now everybody's trying to find affordable housing. So you can't fight for affordable housing when you don't have an affordable house to live in. So it's I want to say it's part of the agenda because it's happening across the country, and it's a conversation that no one wants to have because it's very fruitful for the developers. Like where I live, they're giving all the tax breaks to the developers. So now our taxes are increasing tremendously. I have a house that went from a $17,000 assessment to a $40,000 assessment in 1 year. It's absolutely absurd. It's unsustainable.
And that's, like, I believe you said it. It's a part of the agenda. affordable housing? What happened to home ownership? What happened to our Democratic Party, talking about, people, strengthening the middle class and people owning homes again? We don't even hear that anymore.
I
We
want to
don't.
piggyback
It's
on.
sad.
Well, I think that's where people like both of you come in, because if we do not have elected officials who actually relate to the community, everything you just described, in Atlanta, unfortunately, even our Democrats, they are homeowners. They're not only homeowners, but they work two positions. They're business owners while they're politicians. They own attorney firms while they're politicians. They are so far, their kids go to private school. They're millionaires, really. So to understand this, I don't know that they're driving through these communities. I don't know that they actually are seeing some of the images. Tamara, if you want to go through, because everything that was described on this show is in a visual in those photos. And we can go like click, click, click. That is the Southwest Atlanta Beltline. Just click. I'm just going to describe to people. See that person living under a bus stop? See the person next door to that trying to get on the bus? When you say an agenda, you are 1,000% right. Because why does the planning commissioner still have a job? You should be able to just go straight. Yeah, because if that was supposed, just go to the messenger and see if you can go straight.
I'm having a rough time with this, Robbie. You didn't send it to me in a way that I can scroll through. It keeps coming out of it. So we'll catch up.
Okay. So what you have is just tons of folks, what you described. And I guess what I'm trying to say, and I'm excited and, a little, because I know we have 7 minutes, but we have to have politicians who not only love the people, willing to speak the truth, but actually know, maybe to some degree, what it's like to have to earn a living, a real living.
Right.
How do you understand about medical if your medical's taken care of? They have become part of the problem system, and they're cherry picked. They are. Tamara likes to call it anointed or appointed, and she's 1,000% right. They're doing tours of facility, believing the same marketing that you just described, and then they're posting their tours on their Instagram. Like, look, isn't this great? And it's a poverty pimp nonprofit, literally sucking the community dry and killing the community. And he's posting about it like it's the best thing since sliced bread. And we're all the community at large is falling for it.
Right.
And make no mistake about it, the DNC is purposely picking people who look like the demographic that they are keeping below to put these people in front of these trash nonprofits who are only sustaining themselves. So I beg you, they're probably going to start posting on their IG. But we really have to, I hope people not only follow you, but listen to exactly what you said about the violence, because that's exactly what's happening here in Atlanta. Buckhead has put the DA, Fannie Willis, in charge to take care of all the crime. And they're trying to get everybody locked up again. And they have the influence and they can do it.
So Tanika, is that the agenda? Let me back up. Is that the agenda? You just made a comment, like, as they push us out of our communities, where do we go? Is that the agenda? Do they want to push us out, then lock us up? Is this like,
well, where else is there to go?
Where else are we going to go?
That's it. I mean, there is no place else to go. Once you're pushed out of the community, you're either going to end up working 2 and 3 jobs, and your children are, going to suffer. I mean, it's hard. It's going to be hard for families to move forward and not be in positions to get arrested, because people are going to do what they need to do to survive. Unfortunately, I mean, that's nature.
Yeah, it's times of
I encourage people. There's a experiment. It's called the Rat Utopia. They're following this. I mean, it's basic science. If you can control the resources, then you control the people. It's like they had a rat family. They gave the rat family everything that it needed, and it flourished. And then they started removing the resources, and the father ate everybody. And if you don't know, and if you can't understand relationship between the scarcity of resources and the father eating everyone, then you blame the father and you say the father was violent. But if you understand that the relationship between the resources, then you would blame the people who took the resources, and we have to understand that.
Yes, the people who are controlling the environment. I've read that study. It's a beautiful, amazing study on poverty. And I completely agree with you. And Tamara, it is the agenda. In Atlanta, under 20 is a dividing line, the former redlining. And when you go under Interstate 20, the south side, which is pretty typical of every city, people are going to be phased out of the city, meaning 285 and Tri-Cities, and they're going to be pushed to South Georgia and rural Georgia, who do not want them. She is 1,000% accurate. That's why you see restrictive covenants coming in to stop affordable housing in those areas. That's happening with developers. That's why they don't want lease purchases in those areas. That's why they're putting limits on zoning so that you can't build density. So these people will be pushed to rural Georgia where those courts are hostile, and they will leave them rotting in jails. That is exactly what will happen. And instead of the nonprofits or the politicians, that's another funding source. It's been documented in the past. That is exactly the plan. And there are Democratic operatives and politicians supporting that plan, whether they realize it or not.
Taniqua, what can we do to support you in
Agreed.
Buffalo, New York? What do we do? I know you are a write-in candidate for mayor. What do we do?
Well, I think we just have to spread the word about my write-in candidacy, but more importantly, I would like people to just be more educated about what is going on, because I ultimately believe that people make the best decisions for themselves and their families. So we have to separate fact from fiction, and then we have to put facts over feelings. And so often we can't do that. But check me out. I'm on Facebook, TaniquaSimmons. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter. I believe it's Taniqua30 on Twitter, and it's just Taniqua Simmons on Instagram.
If you could put up your
But we
information
have
or give
to
it,
share that.
if you could put up your information or give it to Tamara to add to
Where
the
do I
link
put
to
it up
this,
at?
that would be great. In the comments, there's going to be a YouTube. I'll send it to you in our little group.
Okay.
Okay.
I knew, like I say,
Okay.
I am great friends with her cousin, and her cousin, I don't know, she was like, you gotta see what my cousin is doing in Buffalo, because you guys are the same people. Y'all doing the same thing. And I saw her energy, her passion, her love for her community, the fight for what's right. I so admire you. I respect you. We are your allies here in Georgia. I know that this fight is bigger than all of us, but collectively, I know that we are the power. Like, we are the power, and we will win. It's just going to take
Right.
us waking our folks up, educating them on these issues, helping them to stay engaged, and just staying in the fight. So I applaud you being the mother of 7 and being in this fight to the extent I'm the mother of 2, and that was enough for me. So the fact that you have 5 more than me and you still got this kind of energy, girl, you are my shero. And you got some folks
Oh,
that
thank
definitely want to
you.
support you. They like, here's Chris. He says, I definitely want to support you, Taniqua. So you got people that will love on you and support you and be there. So y'all, please follow her. I put her name is right here on the screen, Taniqua Simmons, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Follow her, support her, be a part of whatever she puts her stamp on, because she is on the right side of history. Robbie, of course, this broadcast was phenomenal. I knew it would be.
I'm so excited. I'm praying you're going to win. I've followed everything you did. I will share everything you're doing. And please, folks, because they're going to come for her. That happens all the time. But when you hear something and actually, if it didn't matter, they wouldn't be coming for you the way that they are to Tamara and so on, attacking online. When you see something that sounds whatever, give this woman the benefit of the doubt. Ignore what people might be saying on the side, because what she is trying to do is revolutionary, and it is affecting their pockets. And they are mad. So please don't be willy-nilly and be like, oh, I don't know about that. I heard this, I heard that. No. That's not what she needs. She needs people who are going to be behind her, not where she turns around and is like, where are they? No. Be with her, follow her, share everything on public platform. She's doing it for you. She's taking the hits with family. So don't leave her on the side like that. Don't do that. Don't be like that, please. I will follow you and I'll share everything you do and I'll donate to your campaign. Thank you for what you're doing.
I want to say thank you, Taniqua, for joining us. You are a friend to this
Thank
broadcast. You are welcome back anytime. And as it gets closer, when is the election date? Is it November?
November 2nd.
Okay. Well, we definitely want to have you back before November to
November
get an update.
2nd.
Yeah, please come back before then so that we can get an update and we can make sure that people are supporting you and they know who you are. So please make sure you come back. You can find Ms. Robbie Caban at robbiecaban.com.
Thank you. It was wonderful to be here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And every week we give voice to issues, activists, and activism. You can support this broadcast at tamarashealy.com. Of course, we are working alongside churches to fight for reparations. You can support Reparations Sunday at reparationssunday.com. And if you are a descendant of chattel slavery here in the great state of Georgia, support HB 541. And if you're not, if you're an ally, you're an accomplice, be a part of this movement. HB 541 is a bill in this Georgia's legislature that will address the impact of slavery and Jim Crow on those who are descendants of chattel slavery. So that's HB541.net. And of course, I am Tamara Johnson Shealy. I am your candidate for the United States Senate. Please go to my website. It is tamara4georgia.com. Be a part of the campaign, support what we're doing, and we will see you back here next week. Thank you, Ms. Robbie. Thank you, Ms. Taniqua. Have a great week, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Tamara for Georgia, where we give voice to issues, activists, and activism. I am Tamara Johnson Shealy, your candidate for the United States Senate. I'm a progressive Democrat that believes that reparations will make America great. It is time that we bridge the divide in this country. Please go to my website. That's www.tamara4georgia.com. Please join me every Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here for Tamara for Georgia.